Hey Internet, it's RJ. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning into the show today. Now today is Sunday, so you know what that means. We're going around the net with all the news you can use in the week that was in credit and finance. So on the docket for today, we have some cards partnering up with new issuers. We have the official launch of the US Bank Altitude Connect business card with one major omission. We're going to have a look at the updated, reopened Amex Centurion Lounge in Seattle. We have an update on Apple's Buy Now, Pay Later service with a very weird potential approval process. And we will close with a Capital One story that shows us once again Capital One just might not be ready to play with the big boys. So of course, if that sounds interesting to you, then go ahead, press the subscribe button, and let's get to work. Now, we have some quick hit card stories to start off with. So first of all, you may remember the Choice Premier card. It was with Barclays, the Choice Privileges card, I should say. That was with Barclays. It is now moving over to Wells Fargo. Now, this is happening in May. I don't necessarily know that these are new benefits, but here's going to be your new look Choice Privileges card. So no annual fee, 5 back on stays at participating Choice hotels, 3 back at gas, grocery stores, home improvement stores, and phone plans, 1 back on everything else. You'll also get a Gold Elite membership, or basically 10 Elite qualifying credits that would get you gold. There's cell phone protection. There's a rumor from the deal guru that the welcome bonus could be 60,000 points. I don't know anything about the spend yet. Now, these updated multipliers will go into effect for existing cardholders in May. Then eventually existing cardholders will also be moved over to the Wells Fargo options as well. Now, overall, seems nice. It's more interesting to see Wells Fargo building back out their lineup after they whittled it down. So I think just the Hotels.com card and the co-branded side at one point. Of course, they have built rewards as well. So, I've always called Barclays the junk drawer of credit cards, so maybe Wells Fargo can do a little bit more with these cards and elevate them. On the surface, it doesn't seem like a bad card given the no annual fee. So, of course, if that is you, let us know down below what you think, or if you've received anything. Again, those changes should be happening in early May, and then sometime after that, moving that full portfolio over to Wells Fargo. Now, if you like wholesale shopping, but you're not a fan of Costco or Sam's Club, then you might be a fan of BJ's Wholesale. Now they are getting some card options as well. So we take a look at this. There are 3 options. They're kind of, 2 of them are basically the same, but we'll take a look at it. So I'll put them on screen for you. So you have the BJ's One MasterCard. That is going to be a no annual fee card. Multipliers, 3 back at the store, 1.5 on everything else. You do get 10% off their gas. They have the One Plus, basically, which is a little bit higher, so that jumps up to 5x back and 2x back and 15 cents off gas purchases at their gas stations. Then you also have the Business Elite version, which again is like basically the exact same as the One Plus. Now, these do have no annual fee, but technically you do need to have a membership to the wholesale club, which is not uncommon. Costco, Sam's Club, you have to have memberships as well. So, the top end there, you're looking at $110. I believe the entry membership for the One MasterCard is $55 a year. So just factor that in. But again, these are obviously targeted people who likely already shop there. Now, official launch date looks like it's going to be February 27th. So if you're interested in those, again, I'll link it down below for you. All these are over on profitable.content.com. You can go through the stories and get in line if you want. Don't yet know what the sign-up bonus is going to be for that. So now we move to a card we've talked about that had a little bit of potential, and I guess still does, and that is the US Bank Business Altitude Connect card. So I'll put it back on screen for you again. We've talked about this card. Now this card is officially live. US Bank started doing this wait list thing. So overall, again, it wasn't really a rumor because US Bank told us what it was going to have. The one thing worth noting here is that, in the original launch page, they had said, there's a spot that said, hey, you'll be able to transfer altitude points to this card. Well, now there's a little bit more clarification on that from the promo page, and you can see here that you can in fact move altitude points from personal cards to this one, but they call out the Altitude Go and the Altitude Connect on the personal side. What's missing is the Altitude Reserve, which is the one that everyone would want, because the Altitude Reserve is the one that gives you 1.5 when going through US Bank's travel portal. Now, of course, I don't know much about their travel portal, but it's a travel portal. It's probably fine, and that was matching basically the Sapphire Reserve's 1.5 as well. Except with the Altitude Reserve, it's much easier to get your money back on that card, and then some lower annual fee, you get the travel credit, things like that. So, once again, U.S. Bank, they show us who they really are. This had a potential to start forming up their trifecta. The Altitude Go is a really good card. The Altitude Connect, the personal or business aren't necessarily bad cards. I think the annual fee is a little bit hard in year number 2 to take on, but again, if you could have pooled points, Altitude points, then I think it makes it worth it, and you have I would say, semi-competitive trifecta. I don't think there's a reason to have both Altitude cards, personal and business, but again, you could, hopefully they would eventually incorporate the Cash Plus into that, but leaving this part out, not including the reserve on there, at least on their press page, is annoying. And honestly, if you go through the Altitude Reserve page, they don't even really mention the 1.5 as well they used to, so I'm going to guess that's kind of intentional. So there it is. I think the Connect card, decent sign-up bonus in year number 1 if you're looking for something that won't count towards 524 and have some spend coming up. But, once again, U.S. Bank, I'm just going to say, they show us who they really are, and they're not overly competitive with situations like this where they have the chance, and that is a little bit disappointing to see from a top 5 bank in the country. So, with that, someone who is looking to impress you is American Express. Now, of course, we were talking about Centurion lounges. So this time, they are reopening their lounge in Seattle, Tacoma International Airport. So, this is all compliments of the Points Guy. I'll put their article on screen. We'll look through the pictures. It's a lengthy article, a lot of pictures. We won't go through all of them, but I will link the full post down below if you want to check it out. Compliments of the Points Guy. So, again, this lounge closed. Originally, I think they actually opened it as like a Centurion Studio, which is like their baby version of their lounges. Then they opened a real one. Then they realized it wasn't enough space, and now they're back, with hopefully a lounge that can accommodate everyone. So again, this is looking at about 14,000 square feet, which I believe is double the size of the old one. Now it can hold 400 guests, so that's not, I don't believe that's counting people who are already working there. So 400 again doesn't seem like a ton, but because they're, they've been messing around with their guest rules as far as, card holders and how many people you can bring in, 400 might end up being reasonable. I don't know, but it still seems like not that many people. That's a fire code number. It's not their number. I believe that's just 400 guests on top of all the staff is what fire code is saying is safe. Now this is built on a brand new mezzanine level that kind of overlooks part of the airport, where the shopping is. Some of these airports look like malls. I've only been to Seattle Airport once. Hours 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. and it opened as of February 15th. So again, you can go and check it out if you're in the area. Let us know what you think. Again, is because this is one of their flagship perks. It is at least nice to see them reinvesting in it. And I do know that the guest rules are always annoying because again they've been adding it back to some cards like they're giving you something. But I do like to see them at least investing in their flagship deal if that's going to be a primary benefit. So and it does look nice. At least all the pictures that I've seen from the Points Guy. So now one of my favorite topics is Apple. So Apple has been trying to get farther and farther into, financial services, and they've, been talking about doing their own buy now, pay later service. Now, this service isn't live yet. I believe folks have been messing around in iOS 16. The code does exist to turn it on. It's just an inactive feature, which means it could come out whenever, they're ready to go. It's more so just like probably a switch flip and then maybe one, over-the-air update, and, it would be good to go. So that's not much of a story, though. But what is interesting is this is from 9 to 5 Mac, who I believe pulled it from Bloomberg and Mark Gurman, who's kind of a well-known Apple insider, if you will. Their credit approval process is going to be a little bit unconventional, and I found this interesting. So let's take a look at this story here. Now, Apple, again, what they're saying is they will use past spend history on hardware and services to help determine credit worthiness. Now, if you're unfamiliar, you can go into your Apple ID in major devices like your phones, your iPads, your Macs, things like that will be associated to your Apple ID, and they could also look at spend through your Apple Card, which will be tied to your Apple ID as well. Now, it is interesting, and honestly, it sounds like something American Express would do. How much money have you spent with us? So I think I don't know how you determine credit worthiness from that. I think what they're more so saying is we don't want to open this up to everyone. How everyone can kind of get PayPal credit. I think I have PayPal credit. I don't use it though, but technically having access to it is still a risk to whoever's doing the lending on this. So I think they're trying to help pare it down and focus on the people who are likely to come and buy Apple stuff. Because a lot of this stuff is Apple. And I did buy a lot of this stuff from Apple. Now I use gift cards, Apple gift cards, when I do it for the 5% back. And a lot of this stuff doesn't, you would have had to been, I guess, logged in to buy some of this stuff. Like, there's no way to log into, these Apple Studio displays, but I bought them under my Apple ID, so they can probably pull that. But if you just bought it, if I bought these at Best Buy, then, unless you register for Apple Care or something, that's probably not as good of a way to track that, again, unless you use the Apple Card. So, I don't know if right now, I guess I don't know if they're going to end up doing full credit inquiries or not. If you already have the Apple Card, they may have enough information as is. It's just really interesting way to decide it. It seems like something American Express would do. So, overall, I'm not even too interested in the service, but these alternate forms of approval I do find fascinating, the things that people come up with. So with that, we're now going to talk about the last story, which is Capital One. Now, Capital One, historically I've given a hard time to because they're an issuer that, they for the longest time let their consumers outgrow their products, and they still have known issues. Again, if I say this statement, someone's going to comment yes, someone's going to comment no. But to this day, I don't really know the full Capital One product change rules. I don't really know if you can only have 2 cards or not, because people call in and they're told so many different things, and people just don't, Capital One just doesn't seem to know, right? So the the Venture X has been out for a little bit over a year now, which means it's basically its full year in like a tax season, if you will. So if you play this game a lot, then you'll know certain things in this game trigger 1099s, which is basically just a company reporting to you that, hey, we gave you something. It's also going to go to the IRS. Now, almost all the time in this game is, for referrals or bank account bonuses, things like that are taxable. It counts as income and is no big deal. However, Capital One is sending out 1099s for referrals, yes, but they're also including a few other items in there, specifically statement credits, so like the global entry or TSA pre-credit, and then points like oops points, right? Like say Capital One messes up and they give you points, they are counting that. Now, the 1099 rule usually says that, anything of $600 in value or more has to be reported. Anything less than $600, it's up to the company's discretion whether they issue a 1099 or not. Obviously, it's still up, required of the individual to report all income to good old Uncle Sam. Now, historically, statement credits would be classified as a rebate, the same as credit card points, because you have to spend money to get that thing. I've used the example all the time, but it's back in the day when you used to go buy the Motorola Razr. In Verizon, it would be advertised as $200, and in tiny print it would say, with $50 mail-in rebate. So that $50 that you maybe got back after the terrible rebate process was not taxable because you had to spend $250 to get the $50. So this is from View from the Wing. They reached out, and this is what Capital One said. I'll put the full thing on screen for you, but statement from Capital One: required reportable payments include certain credits or gifts given to customers, including TSA pre-global entry statement credit and courtesy credits via customer servicing. Reportable payments must equal or exceed a total of $600 within a year for a customer to be eligible to receive a 1099 miscellaneous form. Again, that is from View from the Wing. Yeah, I'm not a tax expert, but I can safely say they're wrong on this one. And honestly, it's not even that they're saying they're right. I believe what they're saying, and I agree with the View from the Wing guy who wrote this up. What Capital One, their lawyers are likely saying is, well, we're just saying that we gave this to you. It's up to you to decide if you report it or not, And that's kind of annoying in its own right. Many of you are getting these 1099 letters. A lot of them come with accompanying letters that say, do I have to report this, like a FAQ page? And then they just say, consult your tax professional, which is so annoying because it just, we all kind of know the rule by now. But I think it's a safe bet to say that American Express would have to be the biggest issuer of 1099s for this because their whole thing is based on statement credits for their most popular card. And to me, this is really embarrassing on Capital One's part, whether you're trying to just overprotect yourself or not, which is likely happening. Because again, Capital One and no bank cares what you report. They care that they've documented that they did their part. But again, these statement credits are not new. They've been out for a long, long time now. And this is going to confuse a lot of people. People who will still say, hey, I know this is a rebate, but do you really want to go through that if your number happens to get called? And we know for the longest time the government's been trying to bolster the IRS to get them to be able to audit more people. And I think that got struck down, but still, we know they want to audit more people. So a lot of people are just going to be stuck claiming this $600 when, it really shouldn't have been. And there's not a lot of recourse you can do. Yes, you can dispute these things, but if this is their policy, that's their policy, and they're doing it for everyone. So overall, I think this is just another showing of Capital One telling us they're just not yet ready to compete in the big leagues yet. I think this is pretty embarrassing policy, again, given American Express would have to do this. Chase would have to do it with their $300 on the Sapphire Reserve. No one else does this. So overall, Capital One has lived up to what I thought they were once again. So if you get one of these, let me know what you plan to do. I'm not telling you what to do, but it's just one of those things, I guess, that just Capital One every time. It's almost like I would expect, Citi to do something like this, because when someone does something crazy, it's always Citi. But Capital One, you got to do better if you want to play the big boys and issue these big boy cards. So anyways, that's my rant. That's been the news. So of course, if you liked it, drop me a thumbs up down below. If you found it particularly interesting, consider subscribing to the channel. Again, we're posting content just like this every week and right back here every Sunday with all the news you can use in the week that was in credit and finance. Of course, every single day over on profitablecontent.com. Again, question for you. Let me know what you think about these card moves, the U.S. Bank move, not being competitive, and of course, this Capital One deal if it affects you. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this one. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you very soon next week.